Well, we're here on an ESG panel. Part of E is the S, the social, which includes diversity, equity, and inclusion. And here we have our first manel. So apologies, but Montra Ellis of UKG had her last flight out of Dallas canceled last night. For Montra's part, you know, she's with UKG. They do HR and workforce management software. And when I spoke to her, she talked about that software now supporting these goals of diversity, equity, inclusion. She talked about not only spotting glass ceilings, but glass structures. So not just upward movement, but lateral movement, and understanding the skills that people have, and having nudges and behavioral correction in the software to say, hey, have you considered this candidate that has the skills and experience you're looking for, even though maybe it's a male-dominated role typically, or you know, there's a culture in the organization that may not be colorblind.
Sustainability is probably the number one topic that comes out with our employees and with our clients, but it's very important to be ahead of the game in that space if you want to attract the best talent. AI, about data, about measurement, this is absolutely key for us to be able to take action. So it starts from the top.
Encompassing both the E and the S.
Yes, encompassing both the E and the S. So once you have that, then everything basically becomes clear on the client perspective, because you're helping clients to do that, or on an internal employee perspective. And I think this is absolutely key. These projects are really helping our clients to reduce their carbon footprint.
Hari, data centers consume as much energy as the entire state of Australia every year, and it's one of the fastest growing categories of energy consumption. What can we do about the carbon footprints of our data centers?
Sustainability is the number one challenge of our generation, and it will take all of us collectively to solve it. Right? We didn't get here by making one bad choice. We made 1,000 decisions, and along the way we made a bunch of poor ones, and that's what's got us here. And getting from here to where we can be sustainable is also one which will take thousands of very, very good decisions. We divide the broad problem into two parts. The first is energy efficiencies, and the second one is energy choices. Right? Let's talk about energy efficiency. Today, every generation of compute can promise even better energy efficiency built into it. In fact, in our latest Z program that we just launched, we can get about 70% more energy efficiency than the previous one, or whatever else is available in the market. So this is an important element for us to think about. Across our entire infrastructure portfolio, we today have sustainability as our number one design driver, and it goes into building better products for us. Then we take a look at energy choices, right? And this is where it's important for us to think about moving away from fossil fuels to power the technology appetite that we have. Every second, every decision that we make is now connected to technology, and that's only going to increase. And so we just need to simply adopt much better energy sources. So that collectively, those two dimensions, energy choices, energy efficiency, makes the difference.
By 2030, there'll be carbon pollution-free electricity on every Army installation. That's a huge deal that impacts everything. Now, when you're that bold and you want that much to change, you look at everything across the board. You look at if you're moving content to the cloud, how efficient is that? Because as they're not just looking at scope one, you know, their consumption, but also what they're causing. This makes them look at, if I'm moving to the cloud, is the container more efficient or is a service more efficient? How can I reduce that? Which most of you, if you're at a public company looking at ESG guidelines, you're probably asked, well, if you're in the cloud, that's scope two, you don't have to care about that because Amazon or IBM or Google is worrying about that for you. Well, the federal government looks at that and cares about that because they know if they're just shifting it, it's not reducing it. And for the DoD especially, if we're spending energy on data centers or facilities or other things, that's shifted away from their actual mission. So every level goes into it. And so when we look at moving compute around, it's, you know, of course, we have to hit the mission, we have to be secure, and we have to be sustainable as well.
Where we help with monitoring the performance of the ships, we have a few solutions out there. So one is a hull performance monitoring. One is a total fuel oil consumption monitoring, so where we monitor the ship's routes. We give advice to the ship's captain to take a certain route so that they avoid bad weather, and in that process they can save fuel. We advise better routes where they can take advantage of the currents or in a good weather to be more efficient. Bigger problem is not just routing, it's taking all the data available and then generating optimized recommendations for even what ship to next build, so that we don't have large ships sitting idle and waste fuel.
The right.
There is no free pass, right? Green energy does not mean that you should be inefficient in any way, right? I mean, you still need to be efficient. And we live in a hybrid world, and that's the reality, right? There is always going to be some data that's generated in our laptops, in our phones. There's going to be data that's generated inside our own on-prem environments, and then there'll be cloud data, and then there is the movement of data between all of these. So when you look at sustainability, it needs to cover all of those frontiers. There is no free pass. The point, though, that I'm making is that when sustainability comes with economic advantage, it becomes a competitive advantage, right? So we see customers over and over making better decisions, because when they make better decisions in their data center, the bar for what needs to happen in the cloud becomes even higher. When they make better decisions with their compute environments, wherever they are located, the bar for how software uses it becomes higher. So this propels the innovation that's required for sustainability. We need to solve for sustainability as a design choice point, and that's not about just propping it over to the cloud and say, so long as they make better choices, we are okay. No, you have to force them to make better choices along the way.
But I think more and more our clients are asking us to look at the product design very early in the product strategy you're going to design for the next 2 or 3 years. And we are looking at that very, very carefully these days.